I'm R.A. Schwartz along with Rachel Galligan, and welcome to the Winsidr Show, where it's all about the W. Just 14 games into 2021, the Chicago Sky have seen a full season's worth of ups and downs. Currently on a 5-game win streak and sitting at 5th place in the league standings, we are honored to welcome to the show Chicago Sky head coach and GM James Wade. If you like our show, please consider joining our Patreon community, patreon.com/Winsidr. For less than a cup of coffee a month, you can directly show support for the hard work we do covering the W. And don't forget to see our staff's amazing written content at winsidr.com. That's winsidr.com. And remember, downloading the episode makes our stats look better, your listening experience better, and allows us to continue doing this important work. Now, let's get into the show. Coach, it's an honor to have you back on the show. We always enjoy having you here and picking your brains. So thank you for entertaining our crazy minds and thoughts. How you doing right now?
Well, I'm doing good. We're here in New York. Finally, got here, and
Woo.
so I'm doing well. Players got a chance to sleep in, so talked to a few of the players. Got a few messages where they kind of talked around wanting to sleep in. So I kind of bit the bullet, and said, "Hey, you know what?" And just pretended like I was a smart coach and it was my idea. But
You
I,
took
I,
the hint.
I got all the hints. I got all the
I love it. Well, I don't want to, stress too much time on this because we want to talk to you about the Chicago Sky, but I do feel, this is kind of a poignant issue right now. So I just want to ask you, like, the travel issues were semi addressed in the new CBA. And I'm curious, like, do you feel like they were properly addressed? Because in my mind, like Rachel and I were talking about this before you joined us, and there's only so much you can do, right? Like, monetarily, getting a private plane is expensive. It's not realistic to do all the time. An idea that I had was something like, okay, let's get a sponsorship deal or a deal with an airline so that you can always go into a club and actually relax. Because it was crushing me to see the team stuck on a plane, then stuck in like those annoying chairs, whatever, and not really being able to relax. So I guess just real quickly, briefly, what your thoughts are on that.
I mean, I think it's tough. I think it's tough every time you go through a situation. I don't know if you guys remember, but the 2019
Oh yeah,
incident with Connecticut, where we didn't
that
get
was
in
bad.
5 o'clock in the morning,
Hmm.
and had to play that night. So it's always an issue. Um, I don't know. Like we look back at all these things. The club being able to go into one of the airline clubs would be helpful. That's for sure. But I know people say what's not possible until it is. So um, I just wish the conditions were these things would be avoided if at all possible. So we'll see where it goes, but I guess that's for some more negotiations. That I'm never a part of these things. We're always the last people they talk to about these things. Yeah.
Yeah, you just kind of have to roll with the punches and
That's
and
that's
take
right.
take.
I'm all for them having better traveling conditions and not
Sure.
having to get into a place at 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right, right. Nobody wants that. No one should have to deal with that as a professional athlete traveling such long ways. We're glad you guys made it. Glad everyone got to sleep in a little bit. I'm sure it was much needed. But Coach, we are happy to have you on. This is your first time with us this season. We're
Yeah.
gonna start. We're gonna start from the beginning. I mean, you started out with a couple of good wins, and then you hit a rather rough part with a 7-game losing streak. We can, there's been a lot of conversation around that period of time. I will go on the record once again and tell everybody I told y'all not to panic. But, Coach, I know you're going to be the first one to say, hey, we've got a long ways to go. Now you're currently riding a 5-game win streak as you're headed into New York and the Connecticut trip. But, I just kind of want to start from the beginning. I mean, obviously, I think it's safe to say it's early on. It's hard to hit the panic button with any team early on as you're still getting your roster finalized, and then you had key players out: Candace Parker, Allie Quigley. some interesting numbers I was looking at, just from the first 9 games to the last five. In the first 9, you were shooting 38%. You've been shooting 47% in the last five.
Hmm.
Your turnover numbers have dropped drastically. You're turning it over about 17 and a half times a game. Now, when I say now, in the last 5 games, about 12 and a half.
Hmm.
You're getting to the free throw line a lot, which is a phenomenal thing you guys always do. You're the best in the league at it, but you've been getting there even more. In your opinion, looking back at not just the losing streak, but this winning streak, what have been some of the biggest differences?
I think just being healthy, having Candace and Steph and Allie there, which they weren't there for majority of the loser streak. They're a big part of what we do. And so when you put in a team together and you have all these pieces that complement each other, and you just take a few of those pieces away, then you're left more empty. And so the shooting percentages, the turnover percentages that went down, that's attributed to having 95 of our percent of our roster here. And the other players that were playing while they were out, the Astus, Ruthie's, Z, and even some other players. Like it helps them, I think, in the long run, give them more confidence. Where we can all kind of blend all that stuff together toward the end, because you saw the other night, Ruthie, she stepped up big.
Yeah,
I don't know if she could do that if she didn't play as much as she did during the
right.
during the losing streak, I think, or during the earlier part of the season.
Yeah.
We had two of our players, um, Ruthie and Astu, averaging 11 and 8, and so it helps. I think it helps. It helps their confidence. It helps the team's confidence in them. And now that we have a few of our leaders back, it's only going to make a deeper team and make us more versatile.
Well, and I wanted to talk to you about some of those positives of, close games, right? Like during that stretch,
Mhm.
it's not like you got blown out. I think I was doing numbers. And four of those losses came with 12 points and less total. So, I mean, a lot of these games were like 3 points, 2 points. And then you talked about, obviously players who are getting a little bit more time because you don't have your complete roster. So that's helping their development, their psyche a little bit for further down in the season, let it be playoff time, whatever it might be. But is there a benefit to being in those close games, and I guess in some ways learning how to win close games? I mean, that sounds silly with a veteran team, but every team is different every year, and learning how to come together in those final moments. And there's something to be said in that fourth quarter of winning time, and it feels like you got a ton of experience in that during that stretch.
Yeah, we did. We did. We learned from our mistakes. So if you take this team, if you compare this team with the team from 2020, it's polar opposite of how we started off hot, how we were winning all those close games, and how we were healthy early. And now you can say the opposite if we continue to maintain our health. So, we start off slow, we're losing close games, and we get healthy later. So, and a team that started off like we did last year was Connecticut, and they actually put us out of the playoffs. And so that was like an example for us, is that, hey, we still got a lot of season left. Let's just recommit ourselves to what we want to do. Let's get healthy. Let's not press any panic buttons. Let's not try to rush people back. Let's just take our time and just try to learn and try to win the next one. And so we just started focusing on just the next game, the next game, the next game, and then during the game, winning the quarter. And it helped us kind of focus. And we always wanted to keep our energy at a good place, even when it was hard. We didn't want to drop our shoulders or drop our head. And even in losses, when we walked back to the locker room, we wanted to make sure our head was high and our shoulders was back. Um, and I felt like we did that. And so we were able to, string off some victories. Now we just have to keep on learning from them. And the only thing that's important now is the next game.
Well, you spoke about learning, and I'm curious because everyone talks about during a season how players adapt. You're showing them film saying, hey, you're hitting a higher percentage from this corner versus that corner,
Mhm.
so on and so forth. I know it's a little thing of yours.
Mhm.
Every player you coach tells me that you got the hot spots for them, and you tell them where they got to start shooting from. But I'm curious for you as a coach, right? Like, I'm sure you're not just looking at the players, you're also looking inwards in how to grow as a coach. So, like, what did you learn about yourself as a coach, and how do you feel you've grown from, well, let's call it, so far it's been a pretty streaky season for you, 7-5.
Yeah, it's been a learning experience for me. It's been tough. I felt like earlier on, I felt like the 7 losses was attributed to something that I wasn't doing correctly. So, um, whether it was making sure we had the right personnel here, which was important, or just making sure that my emotional consistency was good with them, and just knowing that because they look for me for answers, and they also look to see where I am, like emotionally, or if I'm focused on the result and not on the problem. And so that's what I had to really internalize. Okay, we have to look for solutions. We can't just always focus on what the problem is and just bash them over the head with it. We have to give them the answers and just make sure we're walking them through it, and supporting them in the right ways. And if they don't get it right, then let's teach them. And so that's I had a lot of talks with myself, and you can see from some of the personnel moves that I made later on to kind of rectify some situations that were needed, because I needed for everyone to trust each other, and I needed for the players to. Um, and it wasn't no fault of any players, but sometimes when you're in certain situations, it can just sucks the energy out. Like Slew can have a turnover and Diamond can have a turnover, and then when you have a couple of rookies in the game and they both turn the ball over, it just sucks the energy out. And it seems like that they're having 4 and 5 turnovers and nobody else is. That's just stuff you have to deal with. That's stuff you have to deal with. How can and the window was, you say the window. Candace is not getting any younger. Allie is not getting any younger. So we have to win now, and so we have to have players that trust each other. And so that's where a lot of the personnel moves came from. That uh, we had to get a little bit older. It had to get a little bit more mature at the end of our bench, and so then when we probably wouldn't have seen that if we wouldn't have had injuries early, and that's what the injuries allowed us to see, that we weren't as good at the end of the bench if something happens. And so I just had to make sure that I put everybody in a situation that they were comfortable. And if they were comfortable early, they can begin to navigate outside of their comfort zone later, instead of asking them to be uncomfortable early so we can build it. So that's something that I had to do.
Well, I'm going to embarrass you for a moment now. And one of Rachel and my favorite post game, I think it was a post game press conference that we've seen all season, was of you. And it was the accountability that you had after one of the games, saying, look, the team looks to me, and we were there for, I think it was like, what was it? It was 39 minutes and 30 seconds. But those last 30 seconds, I wasn't there. And that's something that it felt candid, it felt real, and it's something that so often we don't hear from the coaches.
It was
And
that his energy changed. That's what he
there
said.
you go. Yeah. And when Rachel and I both like independently texted each other, like, did you see that? Watch that over. That was just amazing. So I want to give you props about your ability to speak to us about those topics and have that candidness with the media. I know as media members, we very much appreciate that. So now you're on a 5-game win streak, and obviously this is a different team with Candace Parker versus without Candace Parker. And we've touched on that, but can you talk to me about like what in her game allows this team to be that much better?
I mean, the fact that she's a generational talent, and they just don't grow on trees. And you look at players that have influenced the game and changed the game like she has. You talk about the Shaqs, the LeBron James, where they make you have to guard them differently and change your whole. You don't see a player like that every game, and so you have the traditional, the way you're playing pick and rolls and the way you're getting back in transition defense. Well, she makes you change all of that because you're so concerned. I mean, she's a playmaking five for the most part that handles the ball. She's like Giannis with a jump shot. It's just no way you can like prepare for that. And the fact that she gives us another playmaker, another passer, and the way she affects the game, she's won on every level, and she's carried the team on her shoulders. It makes all of our other players that we think have the potential to be great or that are great, it puts them in a level of comfort where they know that a player like her has their back, and it gives them more confidence.
I noticed, just hitting on Candace real quick, it's almost like she gets a touch every time down the floor. Is that something that's talked about, or is that just naturally happen because of the player that she is and the ball gravitates to her? Like the ball is constantly being worked through her.
It's who she is, but it's also so if you've seen our team play for the last 2 years, you know that we have great chemistry. Like it's no doubt about it, and they love playing with each other. So it's a part of our players, and it's a part of them trying to find her and trying to make her comfortable. And it's also us, just play calling her and making sure she, as soon as she said, "Hey, look, I'm coming to Chicago," our players were like, "Okay, you know, she's a part of the family, so how can we make her comfortable?" And I think that's just a little part of it. We want her to be herself, and we know in order for us to be successful, she has to be who she is.
Well, and I it's easy to say, okay, yeah, you guys are 6-0 with Candace Parker on the floor, but we can't not talk about Allie Quigley. I mean, my God,
Yeah.
just what she brings to this team, the consistency. I feel like she's always brought to Chicago. But
Right.
I mean, here's just a couple more numbers for you, just because I spent so much time crunching them in these last 5 games. I mean, she's shooting 53%, 57% from the 3-point line.
Hmm.
What is it about Allie, and particularly this year during this stretch, that's helped this team kind of get going? I mean, just the intangibles too, not just what she does from a shooting perspective.
So the thing with Allie is she gives us a sense of calm. She also gives us somebody to play to um, off the bench. The fact that I think she's been our leading scorer in this run that we've had. Um, she's special, and it doesn't change when we play her or where we play her from that we're going to play for her. And that's like our offense is going to be predicated, and it's easier for us to like put her in there and then run plays for her after the game has changed a little bit. We start off with a little more of a defensive mindset where we're picking up the guards and we're switching on stuff and getting through stuff, and then we bring her in to kind of just take us over the hump, and so we don't go through any lulls, and she's still going to have the same responsibility, and she still is going to be the player that I play for. Like she makes me a better coach because it's easier to play call for her. And the fact that she loves to move and she pulls gravity with her and she gives people driving lanes, it just makes her, it makes us so much better. I think since she's come back, we're maybe like the leading scoring team off the bench, and it just helps us so much that she's willing to do that, and it just goes to show what kind of teammate she is.
And it shows her character. I mean, like so many coaches could ask a player to do something like that, and like a lot of people would have a hard time with that. It's just, I think
Right.
that's amazing. I really do.
Yeah. She's an amazing person, honestly. So
Well, I mean, just from my perspective, coach, like my question going into the season was about this bench and kind of who can lead them, and what's going to be the identity of this bench, and having, you know, a vet of her caliber leading the bench mob, I just think is almost unfair. So maybe I should call a cheat code on you guys. We'll get right back to the episode, but now a quick message from our sponsor. Support for the Winsidr Show is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your personal space. Manscaped just launched their 4th-generation trimmer, the Lawnmower 4.0. You heard that right, 4.0. Join over 2 million men and women worldwide who have trusted Manscaped. With this exclusive offer, you can get 20% off and free worldwide shipping with the code Winsidr20 at manscaped.com. I'm one of the first to try the new Lawnmower 4.0, and I'm blown away by the performance. The craftsmanship and detail are next level. Manscaped engineered the ultimate body trimmer by focusing on intelligent, functional, and incredibly comfortable grooming experience. Their 4th generation trimmer features a cutting-edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents thanks to their advanced skin-safe technology. I now feel confident in safe shaving, and so will you. The Lawnmower 4.0 even allows you to customize your trim through additional guard lengths, sizes 1 through 4. And did I mention wireless charging? The new wireless charging system helps the battery length last longer. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code Winsidr20 at manscaped.com. And trust me, you won't regret this. Welcome back to the Winsidr Show, picking up right where we left off with Chicago Sky head coach and GM, James Wade. But I want to talk about something that you mentioned. You know, we've talked a lot about you calling plays and getting balls into people's hands and whatever. But like at one point, you spoke about throwing about 60% of the plays out and kind of focusing more on that 40% of other plays. And I just wanted to know if you could talk us through your mindset on that. What was the thinking behind that? And how do you think that has, has it worked? I guess.
I think it's helped a lot. So our style of play changed a lot from last year to this year. I think last year I was more of an offensive minded coach and still an offensive minded coach, but it was easier to play call with the 5 that we had out there. Like it was easier. Defensively, I thought that's where we struggled last year, especially toward the end of the year. And this year, I felt like we needed to be more athletic. But at the same time, I knew offensively it would be harder because the team was different. Like the makeup of the team was different. And so you have to give a little bit to get a little bit. And I think the fact that our offensive rating took a deep dive and our defensive rating went way up. I think we're either second or first right now. I'm not sure, but that's the team we wanted to say, okay, this is what we wanted to do. Now, how do we make our offense better? And the way that we did that was to say, okay, we have some things that probably isn't good for the defensive group that we have in. So let's just focus on some simple things, because if we're playing harder and getting out in passing lanes, we want to end up in transition and get some quick hitters. And I felt like that's what we needed to do. It's going to be time and score times where we're doing stuff in the game where we're going to slow it down and we're going to run some stuff. But we just had to simplify it and say, what actions do we want to play to, and kind of just stick with those actions.
I've spoken to a lot of coaches, and this isn't, specific about the Sky. This is just more of a general coaching philosophy. And often I hear coaches speak about not peaking too early, right? Wanting to play your best basketball when it's time to play your best basketball. I'm curious your thoughts on that. And for someone who's not a coach and never will be on your level, like, I'm just very curious how you can keep that in mind if you do, adhere to that philosophy. How do you keep that in mind during a season? Because I feel like as a coach, I would be like, I want your best basketball every single freaking game.
Well, I think we do, but we just have to be realistic too. Like I said, we pushed that envelope last year, but a lot of it is going to be on health and some other things. But it's I want us to always get better every day. That's my thing. And so, of course, you want to play your best at the end, but you just have to be better than yesterday. And so that's how I focus our team, just being better than yesterday. And if we do that, that means we're a lot better than we were at the beginning of the season.
So that leads us to our next question. You're here. You've got New York twice. You got the Connecticut Sun later on, the later part of the week, just once. Instead of just kind of talking about what you've got to do to prepare for those teams specifically, I'm a little bit intrigued, or would love to hear your opinion on how do you approach these matchups where you have a back-to-back with the same opponent versus a one game. Is there a difference, or do you still just take that same approach of one game at a time?
We still take one game at a time, and I think it's a little. I'm not going to say it's easier, but it gives you
It's probably less on the scouting report, whoever the
yeah,
coach is
it's
doing
less, and
it.
it gives you, yeah, it gives you a more recent reference that you know what they want to do, and vice versa. They know what you want to do, and so it's like a playoff series, and you can really deep dive into stuff. And I don't think you throw all the stuff that you saw before out the window, but now you have that actual feel and touch of them playing against your people, and you can actually show the players what spots made them successful and what spots made them uncomfortable. So, but we're approaching this game, just seeing where they are in the last 5 games and seeing where they were earlier, and knowing that they're looking to have a breakout game, even though they
Right.
just won a tough one. They're a good team, and so we just have to be ready for them. And now they even have more playmakers because you know, at the time, Sammy wasn't as much as a playmaker as she is now. She was a scorer, but now she's actually making plays, and they've
Right.
discovered something. They've discovered something that they like. So we just have to be ready for that.
Well, I want to flip that question on you actually real quick because I'm curious for you, like going into the first game, do you ever mentally you're like, we're not going to show them everything, right? Like we know that they've scouted us. So maybe we're going to try and do something a little bit different in game one just to keep them on their toes. Or does that not even, I guess I'm getting into the chess game philosophy of it. Like, how much of it are you trying to kind of get in their head and mess with them with what you guys are doing in the first game versus the second game? Or is that not even a concern?
No, I just focus on us.
Mhm.
I just focus on us because I mean, you know how my mind works, that I can give you everything and still don't, because it's something I might get in the third quarter.
Mhm.
Like a lot of stuff that we come in the game with, we do, but a lot of stuff gets added during the game. If I see that they're playing, like if I see Onyenware has a problem sliding to her left or getting through screens on the left side of the floor, I'll throw something in right there that our team has never done, and just stay with that. So I think that's probably one of my strengths, is that I can adapt on the fly. Um, but it's my weakness too, Uh, so maybe I might overthink things. So I'm not really concerned about showing them too much. My issue is us getting better and trying to win the game or play the best we can.
Yeah, I hear that. Looking forward, in our final question of the episode, and we're very appreciative of your time. What part of the game do you feel that this team can kind of hang their hat on? I know you touched on this a little bit earlier about defense, and then on the flip side, what is kind of your focus on, getting that much better about so you can make that deep playoff run?
That we can, I guess, that we can. The first question was, where can we hang our hat?
Hmm.
Um, hmm. Um, I
Hey,
guess,
if I got you to pause for a second, I feel like I did my job today.
yeah, he did. I guess our togetherness. I guess our togetherness. My whole thing has been about togetherness and accountability. It's like a family atmosphere where um, we just lay it all out there for each other, and that's where I want us to be. I want everybody to be there for each other. I think we're all capable individually, but the togetherness is it kind of uh, that's what the teams are about. The unit is about, and if you can see Chicago Sky as a team and not a bunch of individuals, I think that's probably the best thing I can do, because everybody looked at our roster and said, "Hey, they have this player, this player, this player, this player." But if you actually see the Chicago Sky, then I think, well, I've done my job.
Love it. Oh, and then what do you think you guys need to improve on to make a deep playoff run? I don't want to jinx anything.
What we need to improve on, I don't know. I can tell you what we need to improve on to win the next game.
All right,
What
I'll take that.
I've thought about. To win the next game, I think we're going to have to impose our physical will a little bit, and we're going to have to stay in plays and value the ball. And if we do those things, I think we're going to be really successful. in the next game. Whether that's a win or loss, I don't know, but we'll be really successful.
Coach, as always, we're very appreciative of your time. Hopefully you got to rest a little bit, sleep in a little bit this morning also, and excited to see you on TV tonight, man.
Oh man, we're on TV. Wow.
Well, I'll be
It
watching it
might be
on a
Amazon
TV. So
Prime. I'm not positive,
Okay.
but
I mean, I've been on TV more this year than that's a lot, man. We might have to draft somebody else named Candace Parker soon too.
all right,
Coach, you
Coach.
have a great one.
Yeah,
All
good
right.
luck, Coach.
All right. Thank you guys.